the welfare of millions of people for generations to come may be affected by the wisdom which we here display. Now is the time for us solemnly and truly to dedicate ourselves to seeking the greatest good of the greatest number of our people in Nigeria. It is to this end that my colleagues and I pledge ourselves.
My name is Jimi Agbaje, and I'm running for the office of Governor of Lagos State. Join me on my first Google Hangout, where I will bring to Lagosians my bold ideas on bringing new opportunities to all. I look forward to talking to you.
Ever Google Hangouts with a political aspirant in Nigeria. This is the first in the series of Channels Television's Google Plus Hangout, designed as part of our programming for Nigeria 2015 elections. Today, we're hosting a Google Hangout with the PDP governorship candidate in Lagos State, Mr. Jimi Agbaje. Welcome, Mr. Agbaje. How are you today? And I guess the campaign has started in earnest.
Oh yes, it started Saturday. Hello out there, everybody. Campaign started since the president flagged off his campaign last Thursday in Lagos. So we're on the campaign trail, yes.
So where have you been in the last few days since that big flag off of the campaign?
We've been everywhere, let me assure you, but the full campaign starts on Friday, where we begin with what we call town hall meetings. We're going around all the local governments to meet the people, to sell ideas, to sell our programs to them, to try and convince them that we've got better alternatives to what we have on ground today in Lagos. That starts on Friday.
Okay. All right. I'll start the hangout because we've got a few people who have joined in. So just wave your hand as I call your name so that Mr. Agbaje can also see you live on the Google Hangout. Olabi Kelani, I understand he is with us. Olabi, good afternoon. Hello, how are you? And then we've got Nike, who's an entrepreneur. Nike, how are you? And then we also have Ezekiel. Hello, Ezekiel. And we have someone who's a student. His name is Godwin. He's with us as well. Godwin, hello. And finally, we have Ayo, who's a professional. Ayo, hello, how are you? Good, he's waving. All of them are there. Just before we get started, let me quickly share the ground rules for this hangout so that everybody have a clear understanding of what we're looking to do. First and foremost, all microphones, so your microphone, the reason I didn't ask you to say a word is because I expect to see all microphones switched off, except Mr. Agbaje's microphone. If you want to talk, just wave at me, raise your hand, then switch on your microphone, say what you want to say, and immediately you're through, you will need to switch off your microphone again. That way you can listen without causing interference on the hangout. If you're watching on YouTube, this is for all of those who are watching us live on YouTube, and you want to contribute, or you're also watching on channelstv.com/hangout, you can go on Twitter and send questions with the hashtag AskJimmy. You can send it to me or just tweet and say, Ask Jimmy, and we will ask your questions during the course of this conversation. So we're good to go, and I will start by asking Olabi to throw the first shot. Olabi, go ahead. You have a question for Mr. Agbaje?
Of course, sir.
Okay, go ahead.
On due respect, sir, I could really ask you, sir. One so I got a doctor. Could you be more lossy the very, sir? Tell me about a mistake. Lay koi. Possible could be a leg, diabetic, but the present family going back to my decoy. A leg, fight to keep position in the league, and I can assure you 100%, sir. This position belongs to you, sir, by special grace of Allah.
Thank you.
Kó tó di pé mo lọ sí ibi ìbéèrè mi ni pé irú plan wa bí èròǹgbà wo gangan lẹ ní fún àwọn tó jẹ́ pé wọ́n fi bẹ́ẹ̀ kàwé lọ títí bọ̀ wọ́n níṣẹ́ ọwọ́ tó dá lọ́wọ́. Pàápàá jùlọ irú èmi tí mo ń sọ̀rọ̀ yìí, bàbá ni mí. because lẹ́yìn ní tàbá ń sọ̀rọ̀ bábà létí àwọn èèyàn wọ́n máa pé bábà náà ni bábà ń jẹ́ whereas kò rí bẹ́ẹ̀ ó ní category ó lè jẹ́ pé education náà lé ní level by level ni so irú àwọn àtàkọ́ṣẹ́ lójú àmì bẹ́ẹ̀ yẹn tó jẹ́ pé a capable fún equipment láti dá sílẹ̀ so irú plan wọlé ní fúnrú àwọn bẹ́ẹ̀ kò ṣe bábà nìkan àtàwọn ṣẹ́ owó náà bẹ́ẹ̀ lọ so láti eradicate àwọn ṣẹ́ owó kéèkéé so torí pé irú àwọn ṣẹ́ owó kéèkéé bẹ́ẹ̀ wọ́n máa benefit ní abẹ́ irú àwọn bẹ́ẹ̀ yẹn so ìbéèrè mi ní ìsà.
Ó ṣe púpọ̀ fún béèrè ẹ̀ I think ó dẹ̀ ń pé ogbóyìnbó yẹn ó lè ṣòro sọ so fún àǹfààní àwọn tí wọ́n ń gbọ́ nǹkan tá à ń sọ màá sọ òyìnbó nítorí òyìnbó yẹn ò ní pọ̀ jù ó yí ẹ mo rò pé àti sọ ó dẹ̀ ń pé òun ló jẹ́ nǹkan tó le díẹ̀. Owolabi represents what you call the artisans, those with vocational skills and all, and he's asking what plan we have for such category of persons. And basically what we've been saying is that we're not spending much on vocational skills in Lagos. If we look at the budget of Lagos, for example, you find that of the education budget, and education now takes care of formal education, takes care of vocational skills and all. I believe that Lagos State spends just about 1.5% of his budget on vocational skills. So definitely it cannot be said to have been a priority. We're saying that vocational skills must attract more attention, not just by word of mouth, but in the way we apply the resources at our disposal. Àwọn tó ń ṣe iṣẹ́ ọwọ́ nílùú òyìnbó, wọ́n á sọ fún yín pé ẹni tó nílé nílùú òyìnbó tó bá máa pe plumber, owó tó máa san kò ń ṣòwò kékeré. Kàmáì tí ì sọ àti gẹrun irú àbáyé, ẹrù wa lè má pọ̀ lórí, ṣùgbọ́n kí n tó travel, màá make sure pé mo ti gẹrun mi lẹ́kọ̀ọ́ kí n tó lọ sí ìlú òyìnbó nítorí owó tí máa san ní ìlú òyìnbó láti gẹrun ó pọ̀ ju gan sí nǹkan tí máa san ní Èkó. So it is that we need to first to improve the budget in training people properly. And sọ pé again aláti ní bí certificate èyí tó ń pè ní international certification fún púpọ̀ iṣẹ́ ọwọ́ tó yẹ pé àwọn iṣẹ́ àwọn òyìnbó tó ń wá síbí àbáwọn company ńláńlá tó ń bọ̀ à ṣe business ní Èkó wọ́n fẹ́ mọ àwọn oníṣẹ́ ọwọ́ táwọn lè gbà ṣùgbọ́n bó ṣe wà ń sìn wọn ò mọ ẹni tó qualify àti ẹni tí ò qualify nítorí ọ̀rọ̀ certificate yẹn wọn ò lè sọ pé ẹni báyìí ni wọ́n á kàn sọ pé ó gba freedom ṣe wọn pé freedom yàtọ̀ síra wọn mechanic tó bá gba ọ̀gá tí ò mọṣẹ́ tó sọ pé òun gba freedom ọ̀gá tí ò mọṣẹ́ tó ń kọ́yàn níṣẹ́ kò mọ nǹkan kan náà nìyẹn ṣùgbọ́n tá a bá bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí sọ pé certificate yìí wọ́n gbà á dàbẹ̀ tó ṣe school sat ni tó bá sọ pé ó gba school sat ó gbà á nìyẹn ó yé everybody so nǹkan bẹ́ẹ̀ yẹn la máa ṣe a tún wá lọ síwájú ọ̀rọ̀ pé bó ṣe máa rówó nítorí owó náà jẹ́ nǹkan tó máa ń jẹ àwọn oníṣẹ́ ọwọ́ níyà ọ̀rọ̀ small and medium scale this thing and láti wá bó ṣe máa lè rí owó abátúwò lọ ọ̀rọ̀ iná náà wà torí gbogbo púpọ̀ oníṣẹ́ ọwọ́ ni ó ní ìdíná ìyẹn ìjọba ń ṣe wọn ìdébi tá à ń lọ torí ọ̀nà sì jìn ṣùgbọ́n ìyẹn ń lọ síwájú díẹ̀díẹ̀ torí tá a bá yọ ọ̀nà kúrò irú ẹ̀yin bábà ń sìn mo rò pé púpọ̀ owó yín orí petrol àbóró diesel lẹ máa lò sí tíyẹn bá kúrò ń bẹ̀ owó á wọlé sí àwọn èèyàn náà wọ́n á fẹ́ ṣiṣẹ́ bábà mo rò pé bí mo ṣe máa dáhùn ìbéèrè yẹn nìyẹn mo dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ ẹ pé ó sọ pé lọ́rọ̀ ìbò tó ń bọ̀ yìí o tèmi ló máa ṣe ẹ̀kejì tí máa dìbò tí máa díje rèé mo ti ṣe lẹ́ẹ̀kan yẹn 2007 eléyìí jẹ́ èkejì lágbára Ọlọ́run eléyìí la máa fi wọlé.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Owolabi.
All right. Now, just to follow on where Owolabi just finished, Mr. Agbaje, let me ask you then, when you explained all of this in Yoruba, a number of people who are joining us on this hangout who are Lagosians as well, because we've all agreed that Lagos is the home of all Nigerians and indeed home for everyone. So for that reason, let me just ask you pointedly, where would budget for artisans and workmen, their training for technical education, where will they sit in terms of your priority for educating the Lagosians?
Yes, when we talk about bold ideas and new opportunities, we're not talking about reinventing the wheel. We're saying we've got to do things differently. And that's what the change is about, which is different from continuity. We're saying that there's no way you can improve vocational skills if you have not provided for them. And I'm saying that if you look at the budget of government today, that it provides just 1.5% of its education budget for vocational skills, then it means we're not doing much, and then you can't be surprised at what you're getting. So we're saying we're going to rejig, so to say, that budget. We've got to change the emphasis where we have to put more on vocational skills, because it's very important that we do that. It takes care of those in terms of job creation, in terms of youth empowerment, that we have to place more emphasis on vocational skills. We have to place more emphasis on international certification for those skills, because it is important. A good example that I like to use is welders, for example. Our welders in our country are made to weld burglary proof for houses. Whereas in this country, in the oil and gas sector, you find that they're shipping foreigners into this country every day, flying them in and flying them out, and paying them serious dollars for the oil and gas industry in terms of welding. But the kind of welding we're teaching our own people is for subsistence living. And so it becomes important that we look at those opportunities and begin to train our own. Partner also with industry in terms of, attaching a lot of this are skilled or semi-skilled people into bringing them on properly with companies in this country. We need to enforce the local content model in the sense that companies that come into Lagos must employ our own people. There must be there's a percentage, and we're saying that there's no reason why we cannot enforce a 10% local content, so that we begin to develop the skills of Lagosians in industry that is available locally.
Okay. Having said that, let me ask Nike to throw the next question. Nike, please go ahead.
All right. Thank you very much, sir. Good evening, Mr. Jimi Agbaje. My name is Oladipupo Nike. My question is this. When we look around today, when we look at our society, we notice that people don't really rely on being educated alone, because there are lots of graduates that are jobless. So now people are learning different kinds of handwork, like Olabi had earlier said. So like myself, I have a diploma in business administration, and I'm also a makeup artist and a fashion designer. So most of us in this category, we don't have enough capital to establish ourselves. So what are your plans for people like us, for young entrepreneurs like us, when you can become the next governor of Lagos State? Thank you.
Nike, you represent what you call the young entrepreneur.
Yes.
So maybe not necessarily directly answering your question as specific to you, but speaking for that group of entrepreneurs, I'd say that basically what we're saying is for the young entrepreneurs, it's important. Again, we're not talking about reinventing the wheel. We're talking about doing things in a way that has the desired effect we're looking for. We have a whole load of graduates coming out that do not have jobs. In the first place, they don't have jobs because the education is not fit for purpose. We're still producing graduates that are like, being pushed into a job industry of employment. The world today is no longer for that. They call them, it's like you're producing people for factory work. The world today does not have vacancies for such people. The world today has vacancies for people with innovative ideas, who are creative. People like you, who are in the fashion industry, in the entertainment industry. That's the kind of the global world that we live in today. And so where does government come in creating these new opportunities? It says that it recognizes that there are graduates that have come out and don't have jobs. Now, the first thing government can do is provide part of its budget. And we're saying that 5% of procurement budget, for example, must be set aside for young school leavers, for young graduates. The idea is it's like an affirmative action where you can see that you can say that 5% of the budget will be provided for the youth. For the youth, because the advantage is that it gives them employment. But more importantly, it gives them experience. They can, in 3 years down the line, they can say that they have gained experience in this area or that area. It improves their skills of entrepreneurship. And that is one way of going. The other way, of course, is to say, because of the graduates that have come out, many of them you find cannot even qualify to get jobs. They don't even prefer, they're not able to satisfy the requirements for employment, even though they have certificates. So we're saying that, like they do in other parts of the world, is that we need to open what you call a job portal. And basically what the job portal is to do is not necessarily to find them jobs, but it's to prepare them to be able to work. And so you have a job portal whose objectives are, one, to retrain. The retraining comes, and you probably relate to that. When you look at the banks today, many of the banks employ graduates when they pass the interview. They go back to school for 3 to 6 months before they are put on the banking floor. The idea is to put them in the proper shape to be able to face their jobs. And that's something that government must begin to push out there in getting people to retrain them. That is important. It's important also for the young entrepreneur, for the young graduates and school leavers, not just to retrain. The job portal will help in terms of even identifying, and we're talking of local content again. I had mentioned earlier that by the time you're enforcing local content for industry, saying that people who do business in Lagos, people who do business with government must employ a certain percentage of our young ones, then you are bringing about affirmative action in that respect. So
okay,
that's the kind
Mr.
of thing
Agbaje.
we're talking about. Yes.
Okay,
Please.
Mr. Agbaje. Okay, Mr. Agbaje, if I can interject here, I'm thinking along the lines of someone like Nika, who is most likely looking for funding because she doesn't want employment. She wants to be employer of labor. What will your government do in terms of point 1, 2, 3? If you can just pick 3 things that you already have planned, that those who want to be employer of labor, those who want to continue to be entrepreneurs on a small scale, will have something to run with.
Government will be assisting such people on a general basis that is not necessarily specific to the young entrepreneur. I've talked about the young entrepreneurs, but basically what entrepreneurs need is the enabling environment. So they want to know, for example, that their rents, the rents they have to pay, will not be too high. Now that you can only do when you're improving, you're bringing about conditions for improved housing, for example. The young entrepreneur wants capital. Government is not going to provide capital, but government is going to work with those that provide capital in terms of small and medium enterprises, in terms of small and medium financing. For example, I know that today there is a federal government project where there is a 220 billion naira for small and medium enterprises. Now, what government can do is to come into that project and say, we can organize Lagos or Lagos entrepreneurs in a way that we can have some kind of guarantees for them, knowing that they can deliver. These are some of the things. So it's not government that is going to provide the money, and I think it's important that we emphasize. Government doesn't have that money to give as a state government, but government can come in between those that provide finance and give a backup to those, to Nike's kind of people. There are other ways, like I said, government will patronize them. And that's why I'm saying that we're talking about a 5% set aside for the young entrepreneur. So by the time a Nika is looking for business, she will find that there's ready business in a Lagos state because Lagos has provided specifically for her.
Okay, let me move on to Ezekiel. Ezekiel, can you ask a question very quickly? Please keep it straight to the point and very short and concise. Thank you. Okay, I think we've lost Ezekiel there, so we'll move on to Ayo. You are the one on the extreme left. So Ayo, please go ahead and ask your question. You need to unmute your microphone first, and then you can go ahead and ask your question. Okay, please go ahead. We should be able to hear you now. I think we're still experiencing a little bit of challenge with Ayo's. So let's go to Godwin. Godwin, please go ahead, unmute your microphone, and then you can ask Mr. Agbaje your question. Okay, go ahead. Good, we can hear you.
All right. Good evening, Mr. Agbaje. Yes.
Good evening,
Godwin.
Oh, Godwin. Sorry. Okay.
Yes. Actually, I'm going to be speaking from the ends of the students category. I'm a student leader actually of the Lagos State Polytechnic. Yes, my question, I would like to quote you from your Facebook page and your Twitter page, where you say teachers are critical to the development of our children. We have to review their salary, quote unquote. Yes, it will seem this present government has not fully defined the position of teachers in the society. And unarguably, the tax rate in Lagos State is just so exorbitant that people break their sweats to pay. Now, if you are going to be mitigating that tax rate, how do you go about reviewing the salary of teachers, which translates into you paying them very well? And what significant change are you bringing to the education sector, particularly to the tertiary institution, which happens to be the last growing ground for young professionals? Thank you, Mr. Agbaje.
Thank you. I think what you're quoting has to do with teacher development and welfare. Yes. Again, let me say that when you look at what is provided for teacher development and welfare, it doesn't scratch the surface of what is required. I believe we're spending about 1.5% of our budget on teacher development and welfare. So it's very little. And that's why you will understand why education is how it is. You know, we're saying that we need to look at education totally differently. Our state government today is spending about 82% of its budget on what you call recurrent expenditure, in other words, on salaries and overheads, and leaving 18% for capital expenditure of its education budget. What that means is that it provides very little to develop education. And we're saying that we have to change that model. Again, we're not saying, because people have misinterpreted this to say that you're going to sack teachers. No. If anything, we need more teachers because our teacher-student ratio is very bad. So we need more teachers, but then we need to spend more on these teachers. We need to attract real teachers, not teachers who are just looking for a job for job's sake. I say that when we were growing up, those that taught us were our own mothers, our own aunties. They knew where we were. They knew how to discipline us outside the confines of the school. So we've got to look at that in a holistic manner. And that's why I'm saying that the education budget must change in a way that we know what we're doing. If we look at, again, the structure of the way we fund our education, you find that our primary education is very badly funded. We spend only 3% of our budget on primary education. Primary education is key, is the foundation. You know, all those Zuckerbergs that you talk about, the Steve Jobs and co., the Bill Gates that you call university dropouts, they've been able to change the world, not from their university education, but from their basic education. In other words, that's education that they had in primary and secondary school. Now, if you have not taught the child well at the primary level, then it's not going to make progress at the secondary or the tertiary because the foundation is faulty. And so we're saying that we've got to re-emphasize the way we spend our money and put it on primary education so that we have good products that come out and can do things better, like the Zuckerbergs and co. And that's really what we're looking at. Now, in terms of university education, again, I come from a background where I say that you don't have to be rich to have university education. But once you are bright, then you are entitled to that education. And we must not deprive people of university education. I grew up as a Lagos State scholarship.
Okay, Mr. Agbaje, very quickly, before I move on to ask the last gentleman, Ayo, to join, to ask his question again, let me just ask you, you have contested before to be the governor of Lagos State in 2007. And unfortunately, you did not win that election. What have you done? What has changed in the Jimi Agbaje of 2007 that you're bringing to the table now that makes you think you will win this election in 2015?
Let us say that Jimi Agbaje, since 2007, is a more experienced person. He has studied, watched, he's learned, he has touched base with more people than he did before 2007. He has seen different models over the last few years. He has even gone back to school. When I say to school now, he's run programs of leadership, he's run programs on governance, on development since 2007, preparing himself better for the job ahead. So you're looking at a more experienced person, a more focused person, a clearer person as to the objectives of government and what should happen. That is what Jimi Agbaje is bringing to the table come 2015.
Now, let me ask you then, Ayo, please go ahead, unmute your microphone and go ahead and ask your question. But just as you're preparing that, I want to add to whatever question you're going to ask. I got a tweet talking about the fact that they hardly ever have electricity in a place like Alimosho. And Mr. Agbaje, this is part of your constituency because the whole of Lagos will become your constituency. What is it you will be looking to do in terms of generation of power or distribution of power to help with whatever the federal government is doing in Lagos? But Ayo, please unmute your microphone and go ahead and ask the question. Please go ahead. We're still struggling to hear you now. I think there's something you're doing wrong. Somehow we're not hearing you, so I would have to come back to you. So, Mr. Agbaje, what are we going to do? What will your government going to do about electricity? It's a major issue for small business, for medium enterprise, even for large business. If you're spending millions of naira on diesel,
it's a real issue. It's a real issue, Kayode, for everybody, even for us for house owners, well, not house owners, but those who stay in the house. You talk about Alimosho hardly ever having light. I'm sure that my people in Ekpe will say, oh, they even have. Ekpe is like totally cut off in terms of light and has been so for the last 5 years or so. And I think where government, a state government comes in, is partnering with the federal government. There's a reality that we do not yet have the private, the discos, the distribution companies, the generation companies that have just been privatized are good to go. But it's going to take some time. It's going to take some 3 years down the line for us to begin to see the real effect of these privatized companies. So in the interim, what government needs to do is to find out, look, why, for example, would an Ekpe not have light? Is it a question of transformers? Is it a question of equipment? Now, the state government must then say, well, we will provide that equipment. We'll provide it not because it's either a constitution, it's supposed to be a constitutional thing or not, but because they realize that the people of that area or Alimosho or wherever are suffering, and therefore they need their issues need to be addressed. It realizes that if it's able to bring light to those areas, then business can pick up, then jobs can be created. These are some of the things that this is where government comes in. The constitution is very clear as to who is allowed to generate, who is allowed to distribute, but government must partner in those areas that are still deficient, at least in the interim, while the privatized companies firmly take charge of their work.
Okay, let me ask a question that was asked by one of the people we had on the Hangout, but we lost him in Sikak. Ezekiel, he's a mechanic. He was with us at the beginning, but we lost him. I think there's a problem with his internet. He was asking a question just before he left, which is written down here. He says, Mr. Jimi Agbaje, what plan do you have for the mechanic We are currently being harassed by government, where our shops are often invaded and we are arrested and locked up in Alausa. A number of legal prosecution did not happen because somehow government did not follow through. What will your regime do if you get elected to ensure that asking us to pay tax will not be something that you will be chasing us after?
Well, I think for my mechanic friends, it's very clear that the issues are relatively clear. You need one. I did talk about certification of the artisans, and they fall into that category where you find that our mechanics today, for example, are still in the analog system. Many of them are trained to repair vehicles in the analog type. They've taken their training from that. And so, and the cars we're using today are more or less digital, if you want to put it like that. And so what that means is that they do not, you find it difficult getting your cars fixed properly. And so where government comes in is in terms of retraining, which is what I had mentioned earlier, that they need to go back to school to be retrained on the new system. They cannot all be retrained at a go, but that they can be retrained batch by batch in a way that you are able, first and foremost, to be able to repair the cars of today. Now, when you're able to repair the cars of today, then you can charge the fees for today. But you see, presently, they're on what I call subsistence income. So they cannot charge. It means that when you're on subsistence income, you cannot even get a good workshop for yourself. And so you have to take the roadside to repair cars. But the truth is that if you're good, then you can have your own workshop. You can charge properly. Then you run away. Then you don't need to get into being chased around. But there is a reality that today you cannot afford those things. And therefore you just hang out in places that are not desirable. And so what we need to do is to partner with their association in a way that they go back to retrain. And when they do retrain, you then go back to, just similar to what I had mentioned with Nike, to the finance institutions where you're able to back them in terms of buying the little equipment that they require to set up. Government must show commitment in supporting entrepreneurship. Therefore, it must be able to look for all channels for funding for small and medium enterprises. That's the kind of thing that we're looking at for mechanics and artisans in that group.
Okay, thank you. Now, if you're watching us on TV or on YouTube, sending your questions using the hashtag AskJimmy on Twitter. Just sending your questions. We're getting a few questions and we'll be taking it as we go along. But we'll just try and manage the time because we've got very limited time. I've got someone here who is called at I am Mashal Lawal on Twitter. And he says, what are you going to do about the menace of street urchins extorting from helpless transporters if elected governor? You will see that quite a few places around Lagos, you find kids who are begging and knocking on the window of your car every time there is problem with traffic. What are you going to do about that?
Well, it's a sign of joblessness. It's a sign that many of them are school dropouts. And that's why I said you've got to look at the real issues. You've got to get people back into school. You've got to also give them hope that when they go through school, they will get jobs. Now, those that are there, you could put into 2 or 3 categories. In other words, those that are already street urchins. The idea is that first, you want to stop the production of these street urchins. And the way to do that is to make sure that you're giving them education that is fit for purpose so that they do become useful to themselves when they finish. So you're not getting more of them out there. Now, for those who are out, you probably have them in two categories. The first ones, of course, are those that can be retrained. When I say retrained, they can be repackaged. They're things that government does. And that's why I say government must provide in the interim for some of these people. You find that in more developed countries, you're going to give them work to do. You're going to give them work to do and pay for their work. So you find that many of them are good, for example, in music. There's no reason why you cannot employ them. They're good in event management. When I say events management, things like that, so that you are engaging them in a way that you know you have provided specifically for that category of people. Because
can
by
I
doing
interject
that,
here
then
for just 1 second, Mr. Agbaje? Let me just ask. There are some parts of the world where parents will be in trouble with the government if they fail to ensure that their children go to school. Would you be looking at putting such criminalization of parents who refuse to ensure that their children go to school? Would you be looking to do that?
well, that wouldn't be the first step. I think the first step is that you've got to even encourage those parents to see the benefit of their children going into school. You know, it's a very difficult thing to enforce or to tell a parent that, you know, I'm going to lock you up if your child goes to school. If the parent believes that with the school, there's no future. So I think it's what goes first. And what goes first is that you're showing them the opportunities for their children. When you do have that, then it becomes an irresponsible parent that does not allow his or her child to go into school. So first and foremost, they must see that it is there. The countries you're talking about, you really become an irresponsible person when you don't allow your child to go to school.
Okay, let's take
it's a more difficult sell.
Okay, let's go very quickly, do another round robin now. We'll start with you, Nika. Very quickly, short question, because we must round up. We must begin to round up now. Very short question for Mr. Agbaje, Nika.
All right, Mr. Jimi Agbaje, when you become the next governor of Lagos State, like you said earlier that you make provisions for young entrepreneurs like us, I hope and pray that when you get to the position that you fulfill all your promises. Thank you.
Well, Nika, let me say, what goes for Jimi Agbaje, if you look at our word is JK you know and JK you trust. Basically, what we stand for, what we say is what we stand for. Let me say that I'm not coming here to tell you what I don't intend to do. And when I say I'm going to do something, then I want you to go to the bank and know that I am going to do it. So I'm not going to disappoint you. I'm going to do those things that I've said I will do. And if you do observe, I have not committed myself to things that may be more difficult to do. It's easy to come on here and tell you that I'm going to do everything. I haven't come here to do that. I haven't come here to say that. I will do those things I've said I will do. I want you to go to the bank and feel safe.
Okay, Godwin, your question very quickly. Please go ahead, Godwin. Unmute and ask a very short question.
All right, thank you, Mr. Kayode. Mr. Jimi Agbaje, yes, I must say that you, Mr. Agbaje,
Yes, I can hear you, Godwin.
I must say that you are being realistic with your approach here as you make your comments. But I would like you to see the possibility of integrating our farmers, because you don't see Lagos, you just be an industrialized city alone. Maybe integrate our farmers to match up to the demographics of them contributing meaningfully to the economy, as exploring fully the sector agriculture. You can see how the federal government has done that largely with states. I don't know if you can help in that regard to integrate our farmers.
Yes.
With all sense of responsibility and commitment to make them match up so that they're able to give more support to the growth of the economy and make it robust for the purpose of all the questions.
Thank you very much, Godwin. One of our flagship policies is the ocean economy. Don't forget that Lagos is more or less surrounded by water, and we have an ocean economy. And when you talk about an ocean economy, we're looking at the axis of Ikorodu-Ekpe, for example, where there are no industries as such. And we're saying that part of the ocean economy is to make that area a fish processing hub. We don't have anything like that, so that the people on that axis can find work. Now, the ocean economy is not just restricted to fish processing and others. It's talking about even the logistics base. That's part of the ocean economy. It's talking about boats. It's talking about engines. So that on that axis, you are able to provide a whole new economy, which is related to the agriculture that you're talking about. Lagos does not have the big expanse of land for the typical farming, but we've got plenty of water, and we're saying that we must place emphasis on ocean economy, and that's one of the flagship policies that you will be seeing us roll out to you as the campaign goes on.
before I move on to the next person to ask the question, let me ask you, well, government is a continuum. That's what everybody says. It's almost like a cliche now.
Yes.
What is it you will do to ensure the continuity of the rail line project that has been started by Governor Fashola? What are you going to do about Lagos megacity project?
Well, you cannot have a megacity that does not have an efficient transport system. It's just not workable. So in terms of continuing with the rail, the blue rail, I say that by God's grace, Jimi Agbaje will commission the blue rail project as governor come February or May 2015. After May 2015, it is a priority for us. We must get the blue rail. The governor himself has expressed disappointment at the slow pace of completion of the blue rail. We must hasten. We must make it work. So to that extent, I would say that we are committed to bringing that online. And not just the blue rail. We're saying that over the next 10 years, we must have at least 5 of those rail lines working from the different parts of Lagos, so that we can say that, yes, we can help. It can help in traffic decongestion. It can help in making everybody feel a part of Lagos. It can help in developing different parts of Lagos. And these are some of the benefits of having a transport system that works. So continuity in terms of the projects, as far as the Blue Rail is concerned, you have my word that will be completed. It is a priority.
Okay, we just want to let those who are watching us on Channels Television be aware that we're taking a break from here so that we can take the news at 7 o'clock. So if you're watching on Channels Television, we'll go away. But you can also join us online because we're coming off television. Join us online from here on because that will continue. The conversation continues on channelstelevision.com/hangout, or you can go to YouTube and join us for the conversation. So we go off television for now. We'll go on and try again with you, Godwin. Or rather, Ayo, not Godwin, sorry. Ayo, let's try with you again. Let's try whether your microphone will work this time. If it doesn't, then... So
Hello,
give it a
Jimmy.
Oh, fantastic. We got you now. Go ahead.
Good evening, Jimi Agbaje. My name is Ayadesho. Yeah, I'm an IT professional and I'm a banker, and I'm representing the young professionals. I was going to ask you about traffic. What are we going to do to traffic in Lagos? I want to get to my office as quickly as possible and come back home as quickly as possible. So this is one of the biggest challenge young professionals have in Lagos. So I want to know, what strategy do you have in place to face traffic? We're talking of bold ideas, and I believe there must be something you have in plan. Thank you.
Thank you. I think for your, thank God you're back, Ayo. You seem to have been cut off completely. Let me say that in terms of transportation, I did say a bit of this earlier on, that you can't have a mega city that does not have a rail system. It's just not possible. We cannot build roads fast enough to meet up with the demands. And so we need to put our rail system in order. We need to look at our water transportation. That has to be. So it's an integrated system. And that's why I said that 10 years down the line, the vision we have is that we must have at least 5 of those rail lines working. And that is a priority. It must be for you to be able to move about. Because as a young professional, you want to stay in a comfortable environment. You may not be able to afford to stay on Victoria Island. But if I'm able to provide for you a line that moves from, say, Ikorodu to Lagos, you may find that you can stay in Ikorodu and know that you can get to work early. And by putting that rail line there, it means that Ikorodu people can also have very good homes, very good estates that are probably better than you will get on VI or Ikoyi. So that's the way forward in terms of transportation. Of course, for your category also, we're talking about housing. We must provide housing, not for the rich, but for the young ones, for what we call the first-time homeowners. These are some of the things that we have in terms of providing for your category of people. So transport is key. The beauty for me traveling abroad is that I can take the bus, I can take the rail, and that is how you have a feel of any city you are in. And we must make Lagos that kind of a global mega city. So it is key. An integrated mass transit system. Rail, key. Water, key. Again, unfortunately, our BRT, very good concept, but implementation has not been the best. I think you'll agree with me. So we need to look at that and look at our bus system and say that BRT, in terms of waking it up, we've got to wake it up because it has to work. It's not working at the moment for so many reasons, but we've got to make it work.
Okay, we've got to wrap up now. So let me ask you one final question. If you have to pick 3 top agenda that you definitely must achieve and you want to commit everything you have to make it happen in Lagos, what would those 3 top things be for you?
I think for us, the education is priority number 1. We've also got to have a healthy people. And so we're saying that we have bold ideas as to how to address the health issues of Lagosians. And the third one is what Ayo has said. We've got to look at transportation in a way that Lagos works. So if I have to choose 3, I'll take those 3.
Okay, I'll take health just before we go then. In terms of health, what would you change? What will it cost you and where would you find the money to make it happen?
It's not about finding the money, it's about spending it differently. What we're saying is that it's time to look at a system of health that is sustainable and that makes the people have universal access to health, to good health, good quality health care. And we're saying that we want to use the health insurance model. It's a pet project that I've had for years and I've advocated. Is what we use in our different offices and it works for us. We're saying that you can run a health insurance scheme where government writes the check and becomes the regulator. That is what we're talking about. And we intend to start that and take it seriously. That when you do run that system, then the people will have good health, at least to start with at the primary care level, where we'll take care of the everyday malaria, the coughs and colds, the high blood pressures, the diabetes and co, in a way that our citizens can be healthier people. Because what we're looking for, don't forget, is a well-educated, healthy, and skilled people living in a safe and secure environment.
Okay, we want to say thank you very much. And just before I ask you to give your final statement, I want to say thank you to Owolabi, thank you, Nike, Ayo and Godwin, and of course to Ezekiel, whom we lost during the course of this conversation. So what's your parting shot?
I think the parting shot to everyone is that the campaign of February 2015 is clearly a campaign between continuity and change. We're asking for change because we believe that Lagos must change. It must change in the way it's governed. It must change in leadership qualities that are expected. It must change in the delivery. We believe that our own change is talking about human capital development. It's talking about having a greater effect on the persons involved. We're not saying that infrastructure is not good, but infrastructure, without taking care of those basics, cannot move our cities forward. And so we're saying, as we go on to February 2015 elections, that we're going to convince you that Lagos cannot continue to move at the pace it's going for the kind of money that comes to it. Lagos has received some 4.1 trillion naira in the last nearly 16 years. And we're talking about value for money, that we believe that we can give better value for the kind of money that has come into Lagos.
Well, Mr. Jimi Agbaje, candidate for the PDP in the forthcoming governorship election for 2015, we want to say thank you very much and we wish you the very best during the course of the election. And have a good evening.
Thank you very much.
My name is Bola King. I'm just relocating from Canada.
I'm Kola Ilori. I'm a geologist and a project manager.
I'm Asia VJ Femi by name. I'm an IT consultant.
My name is Omosan Farikemi. I'm an health consultant. I deal with apps.
My name is Oludolapo Adeshiri, and I am a politician and an IT consultant.
I think he's well-spoken, he's brilliant, and I believe he has good plans for the state if he's given the opportunity.
I believe he did a very good job in certain areas by outlining some things he plans for Lagos.
Impressed. I liked the part where he addressed the mechanics. He talked about the being manual, and most of our cars now are digital and automatic. The retraining and all that, I was so impressed.
And he made mention of something which shows that he's a man of integrity. He's a man that does not behave like others. He said something. He said, we stand for what we say. You get my point, one. And secondly, he said, I will not tell you what I will not be able to do.
That which I like to quote is saying that I will not promise what I will not do. That I tell everybody every time too.
Particularly the water economy. I think Lagos has tremendous untapped potential on her waterways. So His Excellency's plan to really look into that, to create jobs and opportunities in that environment is encouraging.
New Lagos, I want to say jobs, 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 jobs for the youth.
The foundation for any nation, it's in its very young people.
I'm looking at a Lagos that is compassionate.
I want to see a government that is more sympathetic towards people.
I want to quote him in this. There was a time he said, I want a governance that people can feel. Yes, we talk about budget, we talk about people, we talk about all the things that government do, but some people can't feel it. Some people can't touch it. So I'm looking forward to a Lagos whereby individual can touch the government.
What we saw in the past is government making decisions that impact on lives and families, that put people in poverty, that send people away from Lagos. I want a government that thinks about what it's doing and how it impacts on the low-income earners in Lagos.
Lagos is the fashion capital of Africa. Lagos is the economic capital of Nigeria. Lagos is everything, so many things to Africans. We want a Lagos like that. A Lagos of bold ideas. A Lagos where the entrepreneurs are doing so fine. A Lagos where the students are high up there. A Lagos where everything works.
Without leaving out anybody.
Yeah, without leaving out anybody.
Good evening, Your Excellency. My name is Bola King again, and thank you for all that you have planned for the state. We look forward to working with you, but then we need jobs for the youth. If there's a way, if there's a plan that you have for the youth to be able to integrate them into the system, we really appreciate it, and we're here to support you.
Hello, Your Excellency. It was a good thing to have seen you respond to some of the concerns of Lagosians today. My question is, what is your plan for LASMA and some of the other agencies that interface directly with the Lagos public?
My Excellency, I will say, I'm happy to send this message across to you. Please, sir, like you have promised, implement a Lagos where everyone will smile. JK we know, JK we trust. We are sending that trust through our votes. Please, sir, let us smile together. Thank you.
Good evening, My Excellency. I count it a real privilege to stand before you to ask you this question. A question that I want to ask is all about, it has to do with the roads. The roads in Lagos, the roads are bad. What are you planning to do? The present government, they don't really deal with the state roads. They have only dealt with the federal road, because definitely at the end of the day, federal is going to pay back the money. And the money, you see, in this state, we generate roughly 25 billion naira every month. Where is the money? What have we spent it on? With sunflower all around, have they been able to manage it? There are so many things that we do. Whatever he cannot do as a person, he should not go into it, so that people can mark him for that, and they will be able to trust him the more.
I am Kola Ilori once again. And as a geologist, I have so many things in my mind. But I know the present administration has done so terrible. about provision of pipe-borne water for people. I would want you to take that very, 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 very important. People need water, potable water to drink. That would be my request. That would be my question to you. Thank you.